Item number SCP-3113. Index: In my way. Object class: Euclid. Special containment procedures. Knowledge of SCP-3113's location is distributed on a strict need-to-know basis. No personnel who are aware of SCP-3113 may be stationed at the facility in question. Testing must be performed remotely, with on-site participants requiring amnesticization after its conclusion. SCP-3113 is kept in an oversized Type 2 kinetohazard containment chamber equipped with soundproofing materials in an area of the facility away from high-value items and established evacuation routes. Documentation describing the chamber's contents as an extremely painful but non-lethal cognitohazardous installation has been falsified to minimize interest in entering the chamber. Note: initially, the falsified documentation described the chamber's contents as highly lethal. This was altered after Incident 3113-D6, in which containment was breached after a staff member decided to enter SCP-3113's cell as a means of committing suicide, and Incident 3113-E11, in which a Chaos Insurgency cell resolved to steal the chamber's supposed contents for weaponization purposes. Description: SCP-3113 is a group of objects and materials that, immediately prior to the development of their characteristic anomalous property, comprised much of the structure and contents of the Site-47 reliquary. Due to the circumstances of its formation and subsequent testing, SCP-3113 is composed predominantly of rubble and scrap metal. SCP-3113 cannot occupy any space through which a human intends to pass. No method tested thus far has circumvented this property. Whenever a human intends to pass through an area of space already occupied by a member of SCP-3113, that member will be violently 300 through 350 kph displaced out of the subject's path. This effect lasts until the subject no longer intends to enter or occupy the area in question. This effectively prevents SCP-3113 from impeding any individual's motion. SCP-3113 is apparently incapable of damaging human beings, and will be expelled in a different direction should any part of it encounter one. Structural damage that results from active SCP-3113, however, has caused several direct and indirect casualties. Due to the difficulty of safely testing SCP-3113, the exact parameters for its activation are somewhat unclear. It is known that an intention to travel through every place on Earth, or the entirety of its holding facility, will not trigger the effect, while intent to enter its containment cell will do so. Knowledge of the area containing SCP-3113 relative to oneself or another known landmark appears to be a prerequisite. Knowledge of SCP-3113 has no inherent effect on its activation. As most subjects do not believe themselves capable of entering an area of space occupied by solid objects, SCP-3113 is usually activated by subjects who are unaware of its exact position or who are aware of its anomalous property. The circumstances of SCP-3113's recovery suggest that it was implemented as a method of efficiently extracting an artifact from the Site-47 reliquary. The method by which anomalous properties were imparted on SCP-3113, whether this method is repeatable, and the parties responsible are all unknown. Recovery Log. The following events took place on January 18, 2017 at Site-47. 1416. An unidentified individual, henceforth POI 3113-0, approaches the exterior fence surrounding the facility, carrying an unidentified, presumably custom-made, firearm. Subject is 1.6 meters tall, with all skin covered by clothing. Security personnel are dispatched. 1417. POI 3113-0 ignores instructions to stand down. Security personnel open fire. However, all bullets become part of SCP-3113 prior to contact with the subject and are dispelled. 1418. POI 3113-0 makes threatening gestures with its firearm. Security personnel are instructed to stand down in order to minimize potential casualties. Subject approaches an exterior wall belonging to the Site-47 reliquary at a walking pace. A response team is dispatched. ETA 1423. 1420. POI 3113-0 reaches the exterior wall. After several seconds of apparent examination and an unidentified vocalization, a segment of the wall roughly 3 meters by 8 meters is affected and propelled into the facility at high velocity. Analysis suggests that it rebounded off Research Assistant Carnegie towards the primary storage area, causing massive damage to the facility. 4 personnel are killed by high-velocity debris. POI 3113-0 enters the facility and apprehends R.A. Carnegie with its firearm. 1421. A brief exchange occurs between POI 3113-0 and R. Carnegie, surmised to be POI 3110, demanding the location of AO51160. AO51110's storage unit is converted into SCP-3113 and subsequently expelled at high velocity from its casing. The unit is sufficiently damaged to allow access to AO51160. Note: AO51160 is a mummified human leg, purported by some legends to have belonged to
Redacted.
It displays Class 3 indestructibility and room temperature superconductivity. 1422. POI 3113-0 approaches AO51160's storage unit and retrieves the artifact. Response team arrives shortly thereafter. POI 3110-0 runs further into the damaged portion of the facility upon noticing the response team. The area into which it ran had no functioning cameras at this time. 1423. Response team pursues POI 3113-0. Shortly thereafter, the response team reports an inability to locate POI 3113-0. Subsequent investigation fails to identify POI 3113-0's location or means of egress.